Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live. You're the number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. We cover breaking news, culture, manic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. And guess what, everybody? I think the state's fighting back. Well, yesterday's episode we covered Binance, right? And we said that basically the headline of the episode, the title of the episode was Binance stopping USD withdrawals. Now, yesterday it was too early to tell. It was too soon. We were just like, okay, this could be a coincidence. But you have to understand that there's been a lot of coincidences, right? We laid out the case yesterday, right? The hostility towards the industry, taking advantage of the FTX collapse to, justify, hey, let's close these banking relationships. I suspect the Federal Reserve used that to deny Caitlin Long's application, which they slow walked for a year. And I think that they were really waiting for an excuse. That's my opinion, of course. And they denied Custodia, the Bitcoin bank that was taking advantage of the Wyoming law. They denied her bank the Federal Reserve banking charter, right? Which would make that bank competitive with other banks, because if they don't have the banking charter, they have to rely on intermediaries, right? So very interesting. And what was also interesting is I connected more dots and more news came out, and now it's too many coincidences. Now you could make a very strong case that they have it out for the industry, and what they're attempting to do is starve the industry and isolate it from the rest of the financial system. Now, to play devil's advocate, their reasoning for this is the volatility, the scams, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this is why it's so important to emphasize to people and to get the message out there that Bitcoin is not crypto, right? But I don't fully buy that. And the reason I don't fully buy that is because of how Caitlin Long's application went down. It took a year. It took an entire year. And it was only until the FTX blow up, then they came out and they said, we did this because of the FTX blow up. And remember, we covered that for many months, right? They moved the goalposts many times. They redefined the rules and say, normally it takes 2 weeks. No, it's not 2 weeks. Now it's as long as we say it will. And, this goes back to something that Andreas Antonopoulos pointed out. He was one of the people that originally orange pilled me. It was him and Max Kaiser. The Fed is really acting like a cartel here, right? They're really picking and choosing. Look, you are entitled to do this. You are not entitled to do this. This is cartel-like behavior. Now, this works when there isn't an alternative. But I think the long-term consequence of this is just pushing more Bitcoin businesses overseas. And it's really the US that loses here, right? Like Bitcoin and shitcoins, they're not dependent on a specific geographical location. So that geographical advantage that you once have doesn't apply here, right? And then who are the losers of this? Of course, it's the average everyday person, right? While the bureaucratic elites play these power games that they're used to winning because they thought they've built this moat up so high, it doesn't work in the Bitcoin world, right? Because Bitcoin really gives you two powers, right? But of course, only if you take self-custody. It gives you the power to vote with your wallet, but most importantly, it gives you the power to vote with your feet, right? You could take all of your wealth if you write down 12 words or 24 words. And if you're really in a pickle, you will memorize them. And there's countless other tools that make it easy for you to write down your seed, right? So we're gonna dive deep into all of this. And also this clip came out that I thought was fascinating, but basically I don't feel so bad anymore, because essentially, like, we talk a lot about the Overton window. We talk a lot about the narratives. Now, what was interesting about this clip, and we'll get to it in the numbers, is that he said the quiet part out loud. And that doesn't make me feel so bad anymore, specifically on how we're approaching these subjects. Because you have to be careful. You have to be careful with the Overton window, because if you talk about certain political subjects, the knee-jerk reaction is, conspiracy theory, right? There's a knee-jerk reaction, right? So you have to be careful when you approach these certain topics. And if you do approach them, you have to back it up with a lot of evidence. But I think we're getting to this point that clown world is getting so stretched that it's just like they're saying the quiet part out loud. It's just becoming so incredibly obvious. And the thing that has me the most optimistic is that people are waking the F up, right? And when people wake the F up, they're like, this is crazy. I have to take personal responsibility over my life. In the process of them doing that, of course, a lot of them are going to find Bitcoin, and then they'll find financial sovereignty via Bitcoin. I think that's why we're all here, and that's what we're all fighting for. But anyways, before we start the show, I want to introduce my awesome co-host. How you doing, Opti?
Doing wonderful today. And like I always say, man, whenever we get a 5-minute intro from Nico, you know it's going to be a good show. And I've said it before on the show, and you guys already know my take on this. The Fed is a cartel. The banking cartel is obviously afraid of Bitcoin, and this is why they're slow rolling us and making us look like we are criminals when all we really want to do is avoid getting stolen from. And anyways, on the culture, we kind of talked about this in Spaces yesterday on this idea of mass adoption. And I saw this thread yesterday, and I thought it was a really good framing. So I want to cover that today. And then I actually am really interested on Nico's take on this as well, because you and I have had these conversations on the back end. So I think it's going to be a good one.
I'm really excited. All right, everybody, let's get some numbers. Let's do this.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Brought to you by Nodl. At this point, you should be running your own Bitcoin node. If you don't use your own Bitcoin node, you're trusting someone else's. Run your own version of Bitcoin Core, the Lightning Network, Whirlpool, and Dojo, all from the comfort of your own home. And if you're a digital nomad, you have absolutely no excuse, because now you can run a Nodl through a virtual private server. Visit nodl.eu today. All right, everybody, before we get to the numbers, I want to tell you about the biggest Bitcoin conference. It's coming up, Bitcoin 2023. It's the Miami Bitcoin conference. It's going to be the biggest Bitcoin conference celebration of the year. 30,000 people went last year, May 18th through the 20th. You can use the promo code SIMPLY to get a 10% discount to this conference. Guys, you don't want to miss it. Of course, Opti and I are going to be there as well. Speaker list includes Michael Saylor, Lynn Alden, Alex Gladstein, Matt Odell, Corey Clipston, and many, many more. You guys don't want to miss this. Like I said, use the promo code SIMPLY to get a big discount to the Bitcoin 2023 Bitcoin conference. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 22,985, sats per dollar 4,351, block height 775,604, reachable Bitcoin nodes 14,049, blocks to the halving 64,396, halving estimate April 24th, 2024, total Lightning Network capacity 5,356 Bitcoin, capacity value around 123 million US dollars, and the realized monetary inflation 1.76%, and the market capitalization of Bitcoin, the grand scheme of things, Bitcoin is a tiny little baby, is sitting pretty at $443 billion with a B. Anyways, the thing that I wanted to show you guys and talk about today during the number segment. So Jack Posobiec tweeted this out yesterday, and he said, here's the former State Department head of the Global Engagement Center, Richard Stengel, explaining how the US government uses propaganda to create a, quote, master narrative for the population. It sounds absolutely ludicrous. It sounds insane. This is what they tell you is a conspiracy. This is what they tell you is misinformation. Now, I'm not going to go down the, like, they're lizard people path. Okay. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to hit it from the money angle path, right? So if they're open to controlling the master narrative, what makes you think they would be truthful about the introduction of CBDCs? Why would they tell you the truth about that? Like, they don't even address what the potential dangers are. They talk about it in absolutes, which is terrifying, right? And now, after saying that, you take a look at this clip, which I'm about to play in a second, and it's like, at what point are you just like, this is crazy? And then their response to when people talk about this is they call us conspiracy theorists. They also call us crazy. You know, they call us this crazy long list of adjectives. I mean, but the proof is in the pudding. You just have to pay attention, right? At what point, and this is what I was talking about during the intro bit in the beginning. At what point are we just like, okay, look, I get this stuff sounds like absolutely absurd, but like, bro, it's right up in your face now. like, and then it being right up in your face, and then also the power of the internet, because this clip wouldn't have gone around if it wasn't for the internet. It's the internet that brings up this stuff to light, right? And the individual, you reposting it, you liking it, you engaging with it. But this is absurd. This is absolutely absurd. This was a member that was part of the US government saying the quiet part out loud, and saying the part that a lot of us have been berated and labeled and saying, look, this is crazy. This is not true, right? They're saying it. And he felt emboldened to say it. Anyways, let's play the clip and we'll talk about it.
You'll be the last question, but I just want to weigh in on that for 1 second. So there's another word for master narratives. It's called history. Basically, every country creates their own narrative story. And my old job at the State Department was what people used to joke as the chief propagandist job. We haven't talked about propaganda. Propaganda, I'm not against propaganda. Every country does it, and they have to do it to their own population. And I don't necessarily think it's that awful. And this idea of a news cartel, I mean, I was editor of Time in 2012 during that election, and I remember, you're competing against cartels and everybody. I remember being on a panel with the then editor of the New York Times, who said, it's really hard to break through these days. This is the editor of the New York Times saying it's hard to break through. I wanted to jump off the platform. Like, what's it like for the rest of everybody? So, I mean, there are cartels, but cartels don't have hegemony like they used to. The gentleman right there, last question.
I don't think you want to address an issue in terms of understanding what happened in the world. Because what is happening in America is what the United States flipped on the global south and in the third world, which we live with for many, many years in terms of a master narrative that was and still is propaganda.
You know what? I hate last questions. Don't you? I usually just want to end something before the last question. But at any rate, I want to thank this fantastic panel here today. And I do want to say, I actually think, the talk about optimism, the optimism is all of you there figuring out how to teach your students about this and using some of the techniques and some of the sources that we've talked about here today. And I hope you're successful. Thank you very much.
Yo, did he really cut out the question?
Did you just hear that? Did you just hear that? What type of gaslighting is that? And like when he got like a real question, he just, if there was a misinformation button in front of him, he would have pressed it. And that guy would have just poofed, like poof. Like, bro, you can't deny it now. You can't deny that. And he said, again, he said the quiet part out loud. He's like, every country has master propaganda. Master narrative. I was considered the master propagandist. Propaganda isn't that bad. I used to work in Times, which is part of the legacy media cabal. And there's competing cartels. Remember what we said when we called the Fed a cartel? Bro, okay? Like at what point, and guys, you understand, I've gone through levels of guilt because I'm just like, dude, can't talk about this. Overton window's not there. This is too much. But it's like, thanks to the power of the internet, they just keep moving the Overton window back to our side. You can't deny it at this point. Now, After everything he just said, now you know how they view it. They view it as a control on the narrative. And tie this in with Nayib Bukele's piece, right? Elites, their most powerful thing, right, is the control on the truth. Now, that being said, after everything that you just witnessed, everything is what, now does it make sense? The Reuters articles attacking El Salvador. Does that make sense? Now, does it make sense how the legacy corporate media is so cozy to the idea of central bank digital currencies? Now, does it make sense why they are hostile towards something like Bitcoin? You know what makes me more bullish? The fact that all these people are so hostile against Bitcoin. The fact that all this propaganda is coming out against Bitcoin. That's what makes me bullish. And I think that this guy's video, I think he revealed a lot more than he should have done. But thank you for doing that, because he said the quiet part out loud, man. And he's saying it how they view it, how they view this. And then one last thing, right? And I was actually going to tweet this out today, but I'm saving it for tomorrow. I think the theory in the sovereign individual is absolutely spot on. I think we are witnessing the demise of the nation state model that existed for so long. And I think you're witnessing the demise for two reasons. Reason number one is the internet. And you heard him say it. It's very hard to co-opt people with the narrative. And there's this very powerful tweet that reminds me of is Jack Posobiec again. He said, look, in 2003, if the internet was around, I don't think we would have gone to war with Iraq, because they had this monopoly on information. Everyone just got their information from, the New York Times, all these corporate media sources. And the theory of the sovereign individual was like, everyone was just going to seek their own information the way they saw fit. But the problem is that if you have this like decentralized system of information, it becomes very hard to co-opt the narrative. And I think that's why you witnessed the Biden administration's attempt to launch a ministry of truth in the United States, which was completely against the First Amendment. It doesn't matter at this point. And I think that's what it was. Right. I think it's like you have the last gasp of like, no, we want to retain that power. But also at the same time that this is happening, you have Bitcoin disintermediating money as well. So you know how terrible those two things are? It's like we no longer control the information on what is true, what is not true, but we also no longer control money. Right. And I think that what I just said, the great disintermediation, is why you're witnessing the chaos that you're witnessing nowadays. Anyways, Opti, what are your thoughts, bro?
Well, I couldn't agree more. I've said it consistently on this show. Everything is a PR war. And I loved how he said it. I heard that in college, the same saying, history, it's his story for a reason. It's the victor's story. And we say it all the time on this show. And I say it jokingly and obviously very seriously. Like, I lean into the idea that we are all propagandists, because I know we are in an information war. And everyone out there that memes, that continuously creates Bitcoin content, I think we all inherently know the same thing, that we are in an information war and the truth will be set free. And I'm so glad you brought up the Bukele thing, because I know we're like a broken record at this point, but we continuously reference that because I think it has more weight than when we say it. It's don't drink the elite's Kool-Aid. The only thing the powers have is the monopoly on truth. They have the corporate press, basically, writing whatever the mandates are, and then they spread it to every corner of the world. I know you guys on Twitter have all seen that little mashup of like all the different news programs saying the same exact thing about how this is a danger to our democracy, yada, yada, yada. They all get the same marching orders. But I think the point of this is kind of back to the same idea. It's like, I think Bitcoiners need to act like we have the answers. And it's never been more obvious in my mind than now that we are just completely and 100% or 21 million % on the mark consistently. And the pendulum is swinging back towards our favor. Like, I think people are hungry for the truth. And this is why we always say, like, Bitcoiners have the best memes because the truth is on our side. And we put it in such a way that our message just continuously gets propagated out there. And another little point, did you guys see the background? It was the background, the like green screen was the Council of Foreign Relations. Like, if you know, you know. I couldn't have picked I couldn't have picked a better little video there, because like this is how I got down into this rabbit hole. And I remember, like you said, Nico, it's very interesting that now we're not even like conspiracy theorists anymore. Like I remember when I was 18 years old and I was diving down all this information, I also kind of felt guilty, and like maybe that I was crazy, that like, wow, maybe I am reading too far into this. But now we understand that like everything we've ever known as Bitcoiners that we know to be the truth is blatantly the truth now. And so I would just say that, like, take this as a call of action, guys. Like, lean into this idea that you guys are a propagandist. You guys are in the information war. And I've said it in the past, again, like World War III won't be a kinetic war. It's an information war. And how do they win? By bombarding you with so much noise that you forget what the signal is. So we need to continue to push the signal out there, make sure that the signal gets exponential, with everyone putting their own fight in the ring, because this is how we win. It's each one teach one. More people understanding what the game is, more people understanding that the system is rigged against you, and that the only way to opt out of this is by taking Bitcoin into self-custody, because the game is rigged against you, guys. This is no longer conspiracy theories. This is plain fact, and the people in control are telling you this every single day. Like, wake up your friends and family, and be the little burden, be the gadfly out there, and be the one that everyone gets mad at because you just continuously like, hey, I have the answers. It's called Bitcoin. Just be that person, be the Bitcoiner.
Hey, man. Yeah, exactly. Be the Bitcoiner. Take agency over your life. Take action. Take action. This is about winning over the hearts and minds of individuals. This is not about the left or the right. Bitcoin is all inclusive. It's about pointing people and saying, listen, a lot of these issues come from broken money. You fix the money, you fix the world. That's what it's about. But it's up to you, the individual, to make that happen. Anyways, everybody, let's get to news. We got a lot to talk about.
The Daily News.
Brought to you by Blockstream Jade, built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. It's an open source hardware wallet for the cold storage of Bitcoin. Blockstream Jade houses a full color camera, allowing for fully air-gapped Bitcoin transactions. Scan and display QR codes directly on the device to sign transactions and verify addresses with ease. Use your Blockstream Jade with your favorite wallet software, such as the Blockstream Green, Blue Wallet, Electrum, and Sparrow. Get yourself a Blockstream Jade today and take self-custody of your Bitcoin. All right, so we're going to go down this rabbit hole of, this is really, I really expect this is going to be the battle to come the next 5-10 years, right? And I think other Bitcoiners see that as well, right? You had Michael Saylor in the Atlas Gala, right, saying he's like, I want to be a winner, I don't want to be a martyr. You have Corey Clipson, CEO of Swan, releasing the piece, The Race to Avoid the War. I think we all see it, we all feel it. What is the end game here? The end game is the separation of money and state, and it's going to make everything better, right? And if you are against that, clearly you benefit from the money printer, but your system benefits an elite few. Our system benefits everybody, right? So there's a big difference in systems. Now, one of the last things that they're trying to do, their last Hail Mary to try to maintain that privilege of being able to issue money for free that everyone else has to work for, are the central bank digital currencies, right? And they're going to try to push these down our throats, even if we don't want them. They're going to try anyways, right? And I think Nigeria is a foreshadowing to the world, right? They always say, no, we're not against cash. Nigerian government, so ban cash. Our e-Naira, which is the Nigerian central bank digital currency, is not popular. So we're going to try to coerce people into using it, right? But this is happening on a worldwide level. And I think it's because they see the writing is on the wall. I think it's become very obvious, right? And I think it scares them because they know they can never match Bitcoin's incentives, right? Anyways, this CoinDesk article unpacking India's central bank digital currency pilots as country prepares for digital rupee, right? So, and we also heard this from England as well. It was a big day yesterday. England officially announced, hey, we want the public's feedback, but we are launching a CBDC, and our launch date is estimated to be around 2030. Sucks for them because that's 2 Bitcoin cycles. It's going to be a rough one. Anyways, but check out this news, right? And I think that this is really what they want to do. And I'm going to connect this with the title of today's episode. Bear with me. So it says Britons face 20,000 digital pound cap under Bank of England plan. Goes on to say Britons would be limited to 20,000 digital pounds, around 24,000 US dollars each, if the country goes ahead with a digital currency. Like, okay, so if you had a choice between something that doesn't limit you, doesn't censor you, in fact, increases in purchasing power over time, or something that decreases in purchasing power over time and limits you to and censors you, what do you think you would choose? That being said, this starts to make a whole lot more sense now, right? And I think that they waited for the FTX blowup, and they used the FTX blowup as a justification to go after the industry. Remember what the Elizabeth Warren bill said, and that showed their cards. It showed they told you exactly what they want to do this thing. They want to kill it. But I don't think they're used to dealing with something that's fully decentralized. Remember what happened to the Facebook currency? Remember that? Libra, I think it was called Libra or something like that. They shut that down real quick, right? Why? Because it was centralized. Anyways, goes on to say, Fed board prohibits member banks from holding crypto assets as principal. A new U.S. Federal Reserve rule has further cemented the central bank's wariness about crypto asset activities. A statement issued by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System on Tuesday, in response to inquiries and proposals from state member banks regarding engagement in crypto asset activities, the board issued 2 directives stating that it will presumptively prohibit member banks from holding crypto assets as principal, including Bitcoin and shitcoin Ether, and those looking to issue a dollar token will have to demonstrate they have safe controls in place. Further, the rules cited that the crypto asset sector, quote, is largely unregulated or non-compliant with regulation from the perspective of market conduct, and that issuing tokens are decentralized networks raises cybersecurity risk. That's right. Something decentralized, it's a cybersecurity. Like, he's so absurd, dude. It's so blatant. It's like, okay, I'm reading you all this and you're hearing their words. Remember what the guy said in the very beginning about the master narrative. Okay, remember that. Remember what he said. Now you're reading this word. It's a totally different conversation, isn't it? Anyways, quote, in practice, this presumption could be rebutted if there's a clear and compelling rationale for the board to allow deviations in regulatory treatment among federally supervised banks, and the state member bank has robust plans for managing the risk of such activities in accordance with principles of safe and sound banking, the board said. That's right. Principles of safe and sound banking. Like, you guys remember 2008 and that no banker went to jail for 2008? Was that safe and sound banking? Like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Still, member banks can provide safekeeping services for crypto assets in a custodian manner if they're conducted in a safe manner. Here's this thread from Nick Carter. I want to check it out so you guys know that it's not just Nico picking these articles. No, people are seen to sniffing what we had a suspicion of on yesterday's episode when they announced Binance was stopping US. We're just like, hold on a second. There's a lot of coincidences. You have Caitlin Long's bank. You have Binance. Like, something's always happening when it comes to the on and off ramps, dollar to Bitcoin, Bitcoin to dollar. Something's weird's happening there. People are starting to smell that as well. And I think that this is really the nail in the coffin. This really, it goes from suspicion to, no, something's actually going on here. Let me read you this from Nick Carter. It says, I don't want to alarm, but since the turn of the year, a new Operation Choke Point type operation began targeting the crypto space in the US. It is a well-coordinated effort to marginalize the industry and cut off its connectivity to the banking system, and it's working. He goes on to say, piece with a summary of what's going on coming on soon, and we'll cover that, of course, on Simply. And he goes on to say, Tether and offshore havens / more pro-crypto jurisdictions will be winners here. US will consider to be a loser. And I completely agree. And this is something that I was saying in the beginning of the show. Their ability to take advantage of this geographical monopoly does not exist, right, in cyberspace. It does not exist. right? And then this comes to like this theory of the case that we've been making, that Bitcoin, it moves the balance of power from the state to the individual. And so what's going to happen if the US continues down this path of being hostile towards this industry? What is the industry going to do? It's going to pick up and go somewhere else. And I think that's something that a lot of politicians haven't come to terms with. And I think it's going to take them a while to come to terms with this. Can't fight this thing. What does Max Kaiser always say, right? Bitcoin is meant to be attacked. Like, you either get on board, you join, you benefit from it equally like everybody else, or you try to resist it to maintain the privileges that you had in the fiat system. But those privileges come at a cost to everybody else. And that's something that's never talked about. What do Bitcoiners want? Bitcoiners want one, maybe a couple things, right? We do like stake, but let's say the most important thing, we want to be able to save into money that doesn't steal from us. Is that too crazy? Because what they're saying is we can't have that. Like, we can't have that. And this kind of goes full circle, and it shows that Bitcoin exposes everybody's incentives. And I think that is what's happening here, right? Is that the incentives are being exposed. Everyone can see it. And these institutions that everyone had so much, like, look at the name, the Federal Reserve Board, right? What did Nayib Bukele said when he went on Tucker? It's like, they're not federal, right? Like, it's like, dude, it's like, oh man. Oh,
not
man.
federal and have no reserves.
Oh man. Like, it's like, remember what they said. And I played that clip in the beginning for a reason, right? The narrative control, the master propaganda. Remember what they said, dude. And I think that the internet threw a wrench in their plans, and then Bitcoin came along and just put a bunch of fuel on it and just lit the match of fucking freedom, man. That's what I see here. And look, I think that I think that they're going to push a little bit harder. I didn't think this was ever going to be an easy route, man. I never thought this was going to be an easy route. The separation of church and state, people's heads got cut off. You know, the separation of money and state, I think, is going to be a lot more peaceful. But still, man, it's a pivotal shift. It's a calamity. And remember the book, The Sovereign Individual. He goes into details, or they go into details. There's two people. They go into details of who the losers are in this new world, right? Or I wouldn't say losers, but the people that are going to be the most disadvantaged in this new world, right? So anyways, dude, holy cow, things are heating up. Are we going to have to move to El Salvador, Opti? I know I've been joking about that a lot. Max and Stacy came on, they're making the case. They're like, you guys have to come to El Salvador. Are we at that point? Are we at that point, bro?
I don't think we're there yet, but to your point, we have seen this. Like, I saw some news stories this morning about this exact thing playing out in the UK. We've seen what the UK has been doing in regards to Bitcoin and shitcoin, and a lot of companies are leaving there. And because they're making it so difficult to facilitate Bitcoin to UK citizens. So, like, this is obviously happening in real time, and this is the best part about Bitcoin. Like, it's a global phenomenon. We say it all the time. The only two votes that really matter is with your pocketbook and with your feet, and Bitcoin facilitates both of those. But you said it best, Nico. And I've been saying this for a while, and I've been trying to pull back on it because it makes I don't want to feel like an extremist. I want to feel just like a normal human. Obviously, it's not going down that way, because the more they push this propaganda to say we shouldn't own Bitcoin, the more I know I need to hold Bitcoin, and the more I know that they're scared, and the more I need to lean into just being like that absolute batshit crazy Bitcoiner that, I try not to be the cliche Bitcoiner where it's like, hey, let me tell you about Bitcoin. Oh, any societal problems? Hey, Bitcoin fixes this. Like, I feel like I've already done that part of my life, and I'm trying to meet people where they are and not be so absurd about it. But I don't know. It seems like this is the only way that I can move now. Like, you got me so heated today where I'm like, yo, like, am I gonna have to be the crazy Opti Bitcoiner again? Like, I thought I was maturing, but now I'm like, yo, like, I need to go so hard on this every single day, not only on YouTube, but in my personal like daily life. And so it's just back to this idea, man. Like, in my opinion, the powers that be have lost control, whether that is through the internet or whether that is because of Bitcoin. And this is why we're seeing so many countries announcing or pushing the CBDC pilot programs. It's because they understand, like, the cat is out of the bag. You can't put Pandora's box, or what is it? Pandora back in the box, the cat back in the box, whatever the memes are. Like, Bitcoin is out there. They can't stop it. I at one time thought it was an education issue with central bankers and politicians and bureaucrats where like, oh, they just don't understand Bitcoin. Now I think me and Nico have gotten to the point where it's like they know exactly what they're doing and they're still just gaslighting the normal person out there because they don't know what's going on in the Bitcoin space and we're still such a small niche. And so I think, you know, you said it there. Like, I think the 2030 date is pure signal. We brought this up in the past, you know, the World Economic Forums, you own nothing and be happy. And the date was by 2030. And here we are. They continuously use that date as their end goal. So, like, guys, I know you may thinking like I'll get a tinfoil hat over here for my meme review score one day, but like I'm team human, and I think humans will wake up to this idea that like, look, we're not just out here connecting dots and you know like going absolutely full Charlie Day on this. Like, the receipts are out there. They're telling this stuff to you guys out in the open, and it's no longer just like, oh, I wonder if this is really happening. It's like, guys, this is what is exactly happening at this moment in time. You are right over the signal. Act like it. Remember why we do what we do. We have the answers. We see the playing field, and we're the only ones that are actively fighting against this. So it's upon us to continue to tell people to take Bitcoin into self-custody. And man, it's the most terrifying statement in the world is probably I'm from the government or I'm from the central bank and I'm here to help you. Like, anytime they tell me this, I'm like, yo, I need more Bitcoin. I need more of my family and friends holding Bitcoin. Like, stay away from me, please. Just let me live my life and stop robbing me. I don't know.
CBDCs are gonna help you. Like, dude, it's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But this is why we're here, guys. Anyways, let's get to the culture. We got a lot to talk about.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today. All right, guys, Opti and I are going to go to 4 Bitcoin conferences this year, and we hope to see you there, right? First one is Bitcoin 2023, which we talked about in the beginning. You can use promo code SIMPLY to get a discount. Also, check out Unconfiscatable. It's going to be in Vegas, going to be at the end of the year. It's a Bitcoin conference and poker tournament. Absolutely crazy speaker list. Tone Bays, Jimmy Song, Adam Back, Jack Mahlers, Greg Foss, and many, many more. You could use the promo code SIMPLY10, get a big discount on that. And of course, where I met Opti for the first time in the flesh, BitBlock Boom in Austin, Texas, August 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 2023. It's not a shitcoin NFT or blockchain event. They talk about Bitcoin, and more Bitcoin. You could use the promo code Simply Bitcoin, all caps, get a big discount on those too. And like I said, Opti and I will be at all these Bitcoin conferences and Pacific Bitcoin as well. Hope to see a lot of you guys in the flesh.
All right, guys. So yesterday we brought a little story from Bitcoin Mag about trying to get more merchants on to adopting Bitcoin. And then we went into Twitter Spaces, which joined us there again today. And we kind of continued on this idea of how do we get more people holding Bitcoin? And we all kind of I think we've all as Bitcoiners gotten to the same point where we're like, yeah, we just need to educate more people, not only just educating more people, but basically realizing that there is a certain convenience factor that most people just aren't willing to wrap their head over. Like, we just got to offer like the right tools, the most convenient tools. As Nico was saying on the show, and we had Big Sean Harris kind of give us some flack in the Twitter Spaces, like, make it as easy as Apple Pay for the people out there to use Bitcoin, and we will slowly but surely win. Well, I saw this article or this thread by Logan Bollinger, the Y of Phi on Twitter. And I really like this framing because I've asked Nico this on air and off air as well. And I've kind of always gotten to the same conclusion of like, yo, proof of work lifestyle, like people to get Bitcoin, they will have to put in the work and they'll have to understand Bitcoin. And while I still 100% believe this, I really like this thread because Logan kind of flips that on his head. And he kind of gave me like a new perspective on it. And while I've known this, we've subconsciously talked about this consistently. We keep touching on this idea. I think this is a great framing as well. And it's just something that we're all working towards. So anyways, I'm going to get into this Twitter thread. And Logan goes, a common sentiment among us Bitcoiners is that if only everyone would study Bitcoin and spend thousands of hours on Bitcoin, they'd understand its the inevitable future and mass adoption would ensue. Education is a prerequisite for early Bitcoin adoption, but not for mass adoption. And this is the part of the show where I stop. You hear the record, Brad. She's like, "You guys are still early. We are still the early adopters of Bitcoin. Like it's never becoming more evident." And I have the simple heuristic: talk to the normie out in your everyday life and ask them about Bitcoin. Do they know anything about Bitcoin? Probably not. So we're still early. Anyways, nor will mass adoption be the result of persuasion. A new scientific truth does not triumph by convincing its opponents and making them see the light, but rather because its opponents eventually die and a new generation grows up that is familiar with it. Look at us. We are basically internet natives, and hence why it is so easy for us to understand Bitcoin. But anyways, scaled up, convincing is not what will cause Bitcoin's adoption to take off. It will be because Bitcoin observably, self-evidently improves people's lives and is easy to use. We can see this type of adoption taking off in developing countries where it does exactly this. This is why I keep telling to everyone that will listen, guys, start framing Bitcoin in how this is going to make people's lives better. What is the utility of Bitcoin? Why would someone want to use Bitcoin? And it's this idea of Bitcoin observably, self-evidently improves people's lives. It's done it for me. It's done it for Nico. It's done it for all you guys. You don't change Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes you, and it lets you live a better life. I think this is the fundamental sell for Bitcoin that we can continuously push in every rabbit hole that matters. Hey, I don't care what you're into. Bitcoin will make your life better, and this is how. And it's up to you guys as the individual to continuously frame that for the fish that you're trying to catch. Anyways, at a certain point, telling someone that something worked isn't effective, they need to see that it is working, and more importantly, that it improves their quality of life in some obvious way. Reliance on education is also ultimately a bottleneck to mass adoption. Think of electricity, cars, the internet, or the iPhone. Nobody was like, well, if we could just get everyone to sit down and study electricity for 1,000 hours, it might take off. No, it just works. It improves people's lives. It became easily usable for everyone. So the same needs to happen and will happen and is happening with Bitcoin. If it improves people's lives and is easy to use, we're good. We're going to win. That's how adoption will take off. The educational paternalism around Bitcoin is not, in my opinion, optimal long-term for scaling adoption. But I don't think we should tell people the barrier for understanding Bitcoin or the prerequisites for using it is hundreds or thousands of hours of study. Most have no interest in doing this. Most people are so locked into the rat race. They work the 40 hours a week. They go home. They want to turn their brain off. They want their lives better. They don't have time to get into college lectures about Bitcoin or high-level understandings about Bitcoin. They just need to take Bitcoin into self-custody and understand that if you hold on the long term, your purchasing power will not get destroyed, and go and live your life, provide the value, and save in Bitcoin. This is where I think the messaging is going to go, because you guys here right now, you guys are, hey, I'll point this out. You guys are the smart humans now. You guys are the ones still critically thinking. So I feel like now it is, how do we get our friends and family, the average person out there, to understand Bitcoin, and is showing them that Bitcoin will give them a better life. So we should turn this framing on its head, and as early adopters, make it so that Bitcoin is so self-evidently beneficial, functional, and easy to use that active convincing is unnecessary. One's interest or lack thereof in Bitcoin will be rendered irrelevant by its usefulness. I have no clue how an iPhone works. I have zero clue how electricity works, or how the internet works, or how my email works, or even how my car works. Yet I use it. I can't have an in-depth combo with you about electricity or any of the things I just named, and I sure as hell can't explain how my car works exactly. But I use all these things every day, and I know they make my life better. And most people are like this, guys. Let's boil things down. Most people don't care how things work. They just want them to work, and they want to understand how to work it so my life gets better. This is the point that I think we all need to kind of digest and make palatable for the people out there, for our friends, our family, and even the normies that you probably don't ever want to talk to because you're a jaded Bitcoiner on the internet. Anyways, education is not a prerequisite for mass adoption. It's a prerequisite for early adoption. Demonstratable value is a prerequisite for mass adoption. You don't educate people to mass adoption. People adopt what's self-evidently useful, valuable, and beneficial to them. Education is, of course, important for early adoption, and early adopters build the infrastructure, the on-ramps, etc., that makes eventual mass adoption possible. But one by one, hand-to-hand conversions of no coiners, though it be the Lord's work, won't get us to mass adoption. And guys, I know this is counterintuitive to everything we say consistently. You probably think this is counterintuitive, but I think the message here is, guys, be a shining example of being a Bitcoiner. Show people the usefulness of Bitcoin, how it makes their lives better, and we will slowly, gradually, then suddenly get everyone on Bitcoin. It's a very simple thing. I know right now we're still in the early adoption phase, and it does feel like that to me, but I think we're getting to that point where we're getting to the critical mass point, and I say all the time, like, we are crossing the Rubicon into mainstream adoption. And I think the way we really win over the hearts and minds of the masses out there is by showing people that Bitcoin is easy to use, that Bitcoin will improve their lives, and all the things that you hate about the world. Well, Bitcoin fixes this, and all you need to do is take Bitcoin into self-custody. Like, if you're a builder out there, let's try to think in the mind of a normie out there. If you're a propagandist like us, let's try to get into the mind.
What?
We're propagandists. Nico, we are. Hey, just because you're a propagandist doesn't mean you have.
That is not simply Bitcoin approved.
Whatever.
We're educators, bro. We're educators.
Dude, pull up the thesaurus. I'm sure somewhere in there it'll say that I'm right. Anyways, guys, the point of all this is we need to, or I need to, or you need to frame Bitcoin in such a way that people understand that their life will get better. And this is how Bitcoin takes over the world, because it's done it for me. It's done it for Nico. It's done it for all you guys that hang out with us. And Bitcoin will improve people's lives. And I think this is the best way that we get more people on board. It's not necessarily badgering them over the head about the Federal Reserve or about, fiat stealing from them. It's just like, yo, like we showed yesterday on the merchant adoption, how does this improve the merchants out there? How does this improve the individuals' lives? How do you make your life better by saving in Bitcoin? This is the way, and this is how we show more people to get on the Bitcoin standard. Anyways, what's your thoughts on this one, Nico?
Yeah, dude, I completely agree, man. We gotta take agency. You gotta take response. You gotta take personal responsibility. You gotta get the message out there. You gotta convince people to take self-custody of their Bitcoin. If it's not in self-custody, it's not really yours, right? Run your own node. Stop trusting. Look, if we now have a technology that allows us to stop trusting other people with the custody of your wealth, you gotta take advantage of those tools, right? But you gotta get the message out there. And a lot of people are gonna be resistant. A lot of people have Stockholm syndrome. A lot of people are like, oh, I like the dollar. It's like, so you're defending something that steals from you, but they don't know any better, right? A lot of people have spent the majority of their lives in the fiat matrix, right? And it falls onto you. You have to take agency. It falls onto you, right? To get the Bitcoin message out there. And look, the beauty of Bitcoin is the incentives are aligned so everybody can win, and that's the beauty of it. But anyways, Opti, let's get to the meme review. Speaking a lot about, let's get to the meme review.
The Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Kaboomracks. I get this question all the time. Nico, where should I buy Bitcoin miners? The answer is Kaboomracks. It's the best place to buy Bitcoin miners. That's where you're going to find the best deals and the best prices. Start your mining utopia today. To check out their racks, you got to go to t.me/Kaboomracks. Join their Telegram group and start your mining journey today. Kaboomracks.
Kaboom.
All right, guys, this is the meme review.
Kaboomracks.
And you already know what we say every single day. Kaboom. Tweets are the bullets and memes are the artillery. Put your hat in the ring of the propaganda war today and fight the disinformation with truth in art. I did that to make Nico feel uncomfortable. Guys, it's very simple. Actually, look, shouts out to Elaine. Yeah, join the gulag. Shouts out to Elaine right here in the comments, because she says exactly what I'm telling you. Propaganda, the systematic propagation of a doctrine or cause, or of information reflecting the views and interests of those advocating such a doctrine or cause. I don't know. That sounds like what we do here every single day. Anyways, I will leave Nico being afraid of going to the gulags alone for today. And we're getting into the memes. First meme here. Shouts out to my boy RD_BTC. And he goes, yeet, hashtag Bitcoin only. And it's a laser-eyed Bitcoiner throwing the shit coin over the mountain, because get these shit coins out of my life now. The ultimate shit coin is the dollar, and I dump it instantly for fiat. Anyways, this next one is by TIR_Naug. Anyway, solutions, folk, and design. And Nico, this one might make you feel a little iffy, but hey, if you read The Creature from Jekyll Island, you know exactly this to be the truth. So Woodrow Wilson sold America like a stock and gave control to the powers that be. J.P. Morgan, Baron Rothschild, Jacob Schiff, Paul Warburg, John D. Rockefeller. You want real political change? Repeal the Federal Reserve Act 1913, or just take Bitcoin into self-custody. This is the way, guys. This is the way. Anyways, this next one, shouts out to our boy, Darth Coin. He hit me to this. I forget, forgive me because I forget who originally put this in here. Again, Nico, this one might make you feel a little iffy in the gulags, but he goes, breaking news. There will be no income or wealth tax if you accept the CBDC. And then right here at the bottom, because we can steal it directly from your account. Savage. Okay, this next one. I'm pretty sure this was B Long Must in our Simply Bitcoin Telegram group. Shouts out to you. And you know me, I like to lean into the alien memes, the alien perspective. So we got these aliens, some grays over here, and he goes, can we land yet? And the other one goes, not yet. They're still trying to stop inflation by printing more money. Man, if only we could stop them from printing money, maybe we can understand that we are an intergalactic race and there's aliens out there. But hey, I digress.
Oh, God.
Okay, this next one. At Agorist, and he goes, if it can be destroyed by the truth, it deserves to be destroyed by the truth. With a Peanuts meme, I fundamentally believe this to be true. And this is kind of, honestly, this fits in very good with what we talked about in the beginning, in the numbers, and how as Bitcoiners, we have the truth on our side and we continuously win because of the fact that we have the truth on our side. The propagandists out there in the corporate press, they cannot hide the truth for that much longer. I believe that the pendulum is swinging the other way and people are hungry for the truth, and Bitcoin is the truth, and we will continue to propagate that truth. See what I did there, Nico? Anyways, shouts out to at Maxie's Club. He dropped his 300th meme. Shouts out to you. Hold on. And we got a bull in the car. This is a play on that one meme where the guy's like with his girlfriend and he kicks her out and he goes, so we got a bull in the car and he goes, to the moon. And we got a bear and he goes, stop with this to the moon thing. And then the bull goes, to the moon. And then we got a Bitcoiner over here next to him now in the passenger seat, to the moon, as he kicked out the bear, because we are going to the moon. And for you guys out there that know,
rocket ship, get on board.
All right, this next one, again, I forget who this was in the chat. It was in our Telegram group, but Darth Coin hit me to this one as well. So I have been getting hit up recently on our Simply Bitcoin DMs from new Bitcoiners that got in around, 2020, 2021, and even later. And shouts out to all you guys out there that are new Bitcoiners that are understanding that the game is rigged against you and you are hodling through the roller coaster ride that is the Bitcoin price. And we have all been there. Nico says it all the time. Everyone has to earn their stripes. It doesn't matter who you are. You will get tested. Your hodl resolve will get tested. And you have to know why you hodl, or else you might have weak hands and drop your coins. Anyways, this meme goes, them. I remember my first year in Bitcoin. Someone vomiting negative 75%. Oh, this is a BTC therapist meme. Okay. Guys, ladies, we've all felt the same pain. I think this is part of the journey of Bitcoin, at least for us early adopters. You have to ride the roller coasters. And this is why we are so convinced and convicted and savage and militant, is because we understand that the stakes are high Stakes are high, and there's no going back to the fiat system. So, hey, it is what it is. Hodl them Bitcoins, continue to propagate the truth, and continue to have fun and shitpost with your friends on the internet as hyper Bitcoinization takes over the world.
Boom. All right, Opti. What would you give those memes?
I don't know. I honestly, the only thing I have here, this doesn't seem like a good score though. It's a dirty fiat dollar. It's literally dirty and crumpled up. Actually, here, it's a score.
Boom.
Throw in dollars.
I'm going to give it this Coca-Cola bottle with 556 and
a flower in it. You know, dude, let me dox myself a little bit. That reminds me of that one 1960s counterculture meme where it's like the flower child hippie guys are putting flowers.
I think that was the idea behind it. Yeah, in the guns. I think that was the idea behind it.
Definitely.
War and peace. Anyways, everybody, this is Simply Bitcoin Live. So drop your score in the live chat and Opti and I will try to read it live on the show. Before we get to that, I want to give a shout out to our awesome clothing sponsor. We wear the merch every single day. This is the Simply Bitcoin merch. That's right. We got Simply Bitcoin merch only on representltd.com. You can click down the link or you can search Simply Bitcoin on the website. They also have awesome other stuff. It's a clothing company by a Bitcoiner. So definitely check it out. You can use the promo code simply-bitcoin.
Wait. Before we read some meme review scores, I want to read these comments. Solomon, Opti, the master of propaganda.
No.
Hold on. The segment is not called the propaganda review.
I pulled that one up during the show. Anyways, P-Man Van, I give the memes realism and honesty are the antidote to hubris. Very good. Next one by Nihilist Fields. Nico Jones, PhD, re-educating all the optimistic Bitcoiners into nihilistic fiatter. Is this a flatters or fiaters? Fiaters. I don't have a PhD, but Elaine, I give the memes. We, the Bitcoin geniuses who put in the work, are big smiles that will convince mass adoption. I like that. Jasmina, I give the memes propagandist lizard people taking self-custody of their Bitcoin. Oh man. Okay. That's the last one. Also, guys, check out the Narwhal Tacos. I just posted my score on the blockchain. You'll need to buy the inscription set for me to read it. That's hilarious. Check out Simply Bitcoin's Telegram group. It's absolutely free. You got to go www.me/simplybitcoin. And shout out to Darth Coin. He's holding it down. Also, check out Simply Bitcoin Unfiltered. Go to www.simplybitcoin.news. It's a written version of the show. Definitely don't want to miss it. Anyways, guys, thank you for joining us. Another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Consider subscribing if we feel like we provided you value. And the number one thing you could do to help this show, in fact, help all Bitcoin content, is share it. Get the signal out there. Subscribe to us, audio version, Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Fountain. The party does go on until 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, about 45 minutes. We are co-hosting a space with our friends over at Swan. Bitcoin, best place to stack sats, built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. They incentivize self-custody. If you haven't already done so, check out swanbitcoin.com today. We'll be holding it down in the spaces. Love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.